It's not uncommon that a lot of the people I worked with that have the sexual trauma have had quite some years in their adult life where they didn't even know it. No memory. And then they started getting nightmares. Then they started getting little flashes of images that in the beginning confused them, because these images went completely against the story they were telling themselves about their life. The story they were telling themselves about the stories of what has happened to me. And then gradually more and more gets revealed. So many will come to me in that period, say, there's these things, I don't know what to do with it. And at other times, it's when they come for a session for something completely different. The body goes, ooh, here we can work with it and we're ready. Poof, then it comes out like a bomb in the room, where suddenly there's memory. And sometimes there's partial memory, sometimes there's a full memory. Many of my clients have been in their 50s before this happened, because they needed a lot of stability and safety in their life, because before there was enough surplus energy in their life to actually go into this process, because it's going to cost some energy. And not just that, it might change your life and how you relate to your world, to your family. I had an experience years ago with a woman in birth. First child for her, first grandchild in the family. Her parents were sitting in the waiting room waiting for the child to come out, because this was a really, really happy family. They were very close, very tight, even with, the future grandparents. And they really wanted that, within the first few minutes after the baby was born, then grandma and granddad can come in. At the time of the head crowning, that is when the head goes through the part of the entrance of the vagina. This is where it's the most painful. We call it the ring of fire as midwives, because this is where, for a woman, it feels like you're going to be blown into atoms. It feels like my body can't stretch that much. It's really painful for 1 or 2 contractions, then it's over. That type of pain is the same type of pain a girl who's too young for penetration is going to experience. So because that pain was so intense, it became a trigger strong enough to give full flashback on the moment. Flashback is not the same as memory. Flashback is being put back into a time machine, being in the situation like you never moved out of it. She was actually in birth with me standing in front of her, the baby coming out. But she was taken back to being 5 years old. And she was on a drip. She actually tried to get the drip to spear me, to defend herself. Then the baby came out and she was back in the room, full memory. And her dad, who was the penetrating person, was sitting in the waiting room, waiting to see his baby granddaughter in a few minutes. This is when a trigger is so strong that memory actually is forced upon you too early. That's why I said, as a midwife, I had to learn about sexuality, because pregnancies, birth, and that is one of these situations in life that can trigger strong enough for memory to come too fast. And when this memory then comes out, this alternates her entire worldview. She's lying there with her newborn baby, suddenly knowing that the story she had been telling of this fantastic family she was born into was a lie. That her father, that she had been putting on a pedestal, had been, for years, the worst nightmare. What she had done as a child was dissociating 100%. But because part of her still knew it, she had nightmares about this monster that would come for night visits. It just turned out that it wasn't a nightmare. It was reality. That her mind had turned into, this is my nightmare, this is what I'm dreaming. No, this is literally what's going on for you, but you are checking out of your body, but a part of you out there still knows a little bit about it, but when you come back in, it's like it was a dream. And she had also altered the look of the monster. So she had created a false image of the perpetrator because it was too hard to move on in life if the person who has to be the one caretaking me, picking me up, putting me to bed, showering, helping me bathing, all these things, if I'm also knowing that he's my worst enemy, the child can't live with that. Then they shut it off completely. Many, not everybody, but many do. And they create this really good story about themselves.